Today we're covering the Warzone 2 close range meta, and we spent about 90 minutes on stream over on Twitch, which is linked near the top of the description. So if you're interested in why it made certain decisions over another, there's a lot of information in that if you have a specific question. Because there's a lot to factor when you're looking at the close range meta, particularly damage per mag, ADS speed, movement speed, all those different variables. We considered those on top of one of the most important characteristics of close range is TTK. And we can see where they stack up, especially compared to something like the mini Bach, which comes in at 644, significantly slower than what we've highlighted. So the first one we're starting off with is more of an honorable mention. This is the Kastov 74U. I think it's a little bit better as a sniper support, but it's 550-ish TTK. Still allows it to be semi-competitive, but the slower fire rate makes it a little bit more unforgiving. If you miss a shot, you're kind of getting penalized pretty hard. But with all that being considered, it has great bullet velocity, pretty solid range, not that much recoil. Iron sights are clean, so you kind of have a lot to work with. In terms of the recoil, this is kind of how it would work. And this, although it's not like the fastest by any means, it does have a pretty good aim down sight. The other factors that it has going for it is going to be one of the easiest to hit a target at about 50 meters, which is where that last target is. And the only really thing worth changing, in my opinion, is probably swapping out the laser for the one without the visible laser, if that bothers you. But this one's going to help with aiming stability, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed, which were all great. But giving away your position with a fast TTK isn't always great. So I tend to lean towards the one that's going to help out the aim down sight. And that kind of carries through for a lot of these weapons. I'm going to have the laser sight on them. That is visible, but you could always swap it to the other one, and the tunings pretty much carry over. The next two are kind of tied for fourth. We have the Chimera with the Vaznev. I think overall the Vaznev's pretty good, but it does struggle with the TTK slightly. It is slightly faster than the AK-74U, has a little bit better mobility and those types of things because it is an SMG. Fairly easy to use with the build we're going to talk about. And then we have the Chimera, which is actually a rifle, but you kind of got to build it out to be an SMG, give it a little bit better bullet velocity because it kind of lacks in that area. And you kind of saw for that, I would say these are both pretty solid. The Chimera, its greatest strength is it kills as fast as a Lachmann sub. If you manage to hit your shots, you will get that 525 TTK. So we'll kind of take a look at how those look, kind of see how they're built out. And like I said, with the laser, you could always swap it to the non-visible laser. But for the demonstration purposes, this is kind of what we're showing up. You can see this one barely even moves. And like I said, that last target gets a little bit harder. These are all sub 600 bullet velocity, and that is a huge deal. But that's kind of how they've decided to balance SMGs within Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2. For the Chimera, you could actually drop something if you wanted to get a little bit better iron sights. I'm not a fan of these iron sights, but overall it kills quick. It's pretty easy to use. It does struggle at that further range because the bullet velocity is so trash, so don't expect to hit people that far away. This one at 25-ish meters is kind of well within that range, so you could get pretty comfortable with that mag size. And again, same thing, you could always swap out that laser. This brings us to one that I normally do not talk about on the channel, and that's shotguns. I kind of had to include this one because it is broken. It is very broken. It'll likely get nerfed into the dirt at some point, but knowing them, they're maybe going to hold on to this until they sell Blueprint first, because that's kind of seems what it looked like they're doing with the RPK, but that's a whole other story. This thing has a destructive 2-shot kill with the Dragon's Breath rounds. Yes, and it's like sub 300 or around 300 TTK, which is stupid. But as soon as you get beyond that, it's not so special. Obviously, shotguns are supposed to perform a certain way, and it's doing that. But it's kind of cheese when you want any level of skill gap in the game, because you don't even have to really aim that straight with this thing either. And you can't really demonstrate that other than in game. But you can kind of see how that build is there. There is a dash bolt 60 behind my camera, but you do have that on the other side of the screen. So not a big deal for those screenshotters out there. And that's going to bring us to the top two, which I think it's very close. I think the Fennec might edge out the Lachmann sub. But in terms of versatility, damage per mag, and the builds we've landed on, we have the Lachmann sub and we also have the Fennec. And both of them are built out pretty well. They're both pretty easy to use. The Fennec, even after the nerf, has a slightly faster TTK, but the damage per mag is a little bit better. The mobility and a few other stats are a little bit just easier on the Lachmann sub. And it's something we've grown accustomed to using with the MP5 for almost 3 years. So there it is, pretty much built out. And like I said, you could swap out the laser, or you could put on the heavier mag, but this one will reload a little bit faster. And 40 bullets is still a higher damage per mag than we're seeing with the Fennec. And it works out pretty good, especially when you get fast hands. Oh man, this gun feels really good. You kind of see how it performs. A little bit of mobility, decent ADS, very good recoil, manageable bullet velocity. Obviously, that target at range is always going to be a little bit of a struggle. You just got to kind of manage your ammo effectively. And last but not least, the boringest of boring, the Fennec, which it's kind of like one of those things you use it or get killed by it, and you're going to be frustrated. So that's kind of how it's built out. Again, pretty straightforward. We've been used to this one for a while. It's kind of like the same thing we've had for 3 months. They made it slightly worse, but it's still pretty good. Even at range, a little bit harder to hit at 50 meters, but you're not really using an SMG for 50 meters. It's usually about 15 meters or less. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you like this format, let me know by hitting the like button, subscribe with notifications on. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.